Okay. Well, I went through this ahead of time offline, so I would get it correct. In high school, our classmate here was Seulyn Lee,
Yes.
and then professionally, she's Dr. Seulyn Au, and personally, she's Seulyn Dang. Okay,
Very
so
confusing, I know.
those of you who need time to step aside and think about it, help yourself. This will be recorded. You can always come back in.
Okay. Well, before we begin, Kermit, I just wanted to thank you because I've truly enjoyed all of these videos. I've actually personally watched each and every single one. In fact, when I was traveling, I actually logged on just to kind of listen to what today's video would be. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And you are on Oahu these days?
I am. I live in Honolulu. I went away
Okay.
for a little bit for school, but yes, I did come back and I have been here ever since. Yes.
Okay. Starting point for us. What grade did you start Kamehameha?
Okay, so actually, I started in ninth grade, like a lot of people in the video did. Elementary school, I went to Kapalama. So I understand Tanya went to Kapalama. I actually didn't
Okay.
remember her, but she remembered me. So that's absolutely fantastic. I then moved on to Kalakaua because that was the year Kwananakoa School burnt down. And they
Oh,
kind of diverted us to all these different schools. So I had to choose Kalakaua. For seventh, eighth grade, I went to Kwananakoa. So I understand Jay Sistrunk, I was listening to Jay's video, also went to Kwananakoa. I didn't remember him either. And Claude Chung also went to Kwananakoa. I didn't remember him either. So I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent because Claude has been an interesting person. I was listening to Kihao's video. So, and I got permission from Claude to kind of tell you this, but Claude has been my patient for years. I did not know he was my patient from as a classmate from Kamehameha. I just knew he was a patient. So we would just play catch up, family, friends, whatever, during the yearly annual checkup, no big deal. Then after he saw Kehao and Miriam on the plane, I saw him in the chair about a month later. And so I said, how things going? He says, oh, I saw some of our classmates on the plane, Miriam, Kehao, whatever. I said, excuse me, what? He said, yeah, I saw Miriam, Kehao, and a bunch of other people. And I said, how do you know these people? He said, I'm your classmate. I went, oh my God, you're kidding. I had no idea. I mean, I was taking care of him for years and did not know that.
but
And not only
apparently,
that,
from what I understand, he's physically changed since high school.
he got really tall, very thin. I didn't even remember the name. That's how bad it was. Yeah. And and also he said, why we also went to Quote together. I said, we did? He said, yeah, we were in math class together. You were the smartest girl. I was the smartest guy. We both got into Kamehameha. And I went, we did? So just a little bit of a tangent on that one. But yes, that was very unusual, very, welcoming. I was totally shocked and surprised, but yeah, that was sort of cool. Hmm.
That's neat, where he seems to have made the assumption you
Yes,
recognize him as a classmate,
yes, yes,
and the conversation never
yes.
hinted at anything for you.
Right, exactly. And I'll share another one. I haven't asked his permission, so I'm not going to give a name. But another classmate actually sat in my chair. I pulled the chart. I recognized the name totally because, I was a nerd. You guys are really popular. And I went, oh my God, this is a classmate. So I opened the door, went in the room, and I called his name and I gave him a big hug. And he froze. And I went, uh-oh, what just happened here? And I said, so I pulled back really quickly and I said, we're classmates from Kamehameha, right? He goes, oh, okay. Didn't remember me at all. So that made me realize never hug a patient again without introducing myself first. Even to a classmate. Yeah.
That's probably good life advice outside of
Yes.
the professional world.
Yes. That was, I mean, it was just a kind of a moment that I thought, hey, so great to see this classmate. But yeah, wasn't remembered at all. Okay. But anyway, keep going.
Okay, so after we graduated high school,
Hmm.
first step for you was what?
So I went to Pacific University in Oregon, and I'm just surprised that all of you guys went to school in Oregon. I had no idea. And the only reason I chose Pacific was they had a very good pre-optometry program. And I thought, at 10th grade, this is what I wanted to do with my life. I knew in 10th grade, this is the career I wanted. Very strange. Unlike a lot of people who didn't know, I knew. Hmm.
Okay, but from what? Did you have a good optometry experience?
I was
Is it?
blind as anything. I don't know if people remember it. I had the thickest glasses and looked like the dopiest person in school. But yes, I realized if I was going to get cheap to free glasses, I had to become the doctor. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes. So I spent 3 years at Pacific. I actually did college in three. I finished early and I got in early acceptance to one of the best programs in the country in Philadelphia. And the only reason I chose Philadelphia for optometry school was my husband at the time, I was getting married, was in medical school in Philadelphia. So Pennsylvania had to be my first choice. And luckily I got in. So that was really nice.
So you guys met in college?
So we met in high school. I met him in the 10th grade. He was an Iolani boy. I was a Kamehameha girl. We met through a group called Junior Achievement. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, where we formed a company and created a product
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Exactly. So I was in Junior Achievement, and at the time, my boyfriend, I met him at JA. So we were together off and on for years because he was 2 years older. So he went away to school at Baylor for undergrad. I went to Pacific because obviously we're not going to change our careers for each other. And we ended up realizing we're going to be in Philadelphia at the same time and let's do the marriage thing. So I got married at 20. I was quite young, but I got
Oh,
in
okay.
early into school. I was pretty much the youngest in my class. I was the only one from Hawaii in the whole school. So they called me the baby Hawaiian. Yeah. And I'll share an interesting story because I'm a rubber slippers kind of girl. So fall came, I was going to class in rubber slippers. Come winter, first snow, I actually put on socks with my rubber slippers and I traipsed across the campus and went to school in slippers. And when there was too much snow, obviously you have to wear shoes. Not fun. So I put on shoes for the first time, went to class, and there was a big note on the board that says the little Hawaiian actually wears shoes. And I went, oh my God, this is really embarrassing. This is really embarrassing. But yeah, so I did my training in Philadelphia. It took 4 years of school after college. And my husband at the time was doing a surgical residency. So I stayed another 3 years and practiced in this little town called Germantown, which is ghetto Philadelphia.
Wow.
Yeah. And after that, then we both moved back home because that's what we wanted to do. So in 1985, I moved back home trying to look for a job. Jobs were hard to come by, so I created my own. I started the very first nonprofit optometry clinic in the state within the Kalihi Palama Healthcare Center. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that. So Kalihi
Hmm.
Palama Healthcare was originally in Kaumakapili Church, right across from Tamashiro's Market in
Okay.
Kalihi. Yeah. So they started out in the church. So my first program was with them in the church. And funny story, whenever we have funerals in the church, I'd have to tell my patients we have to be really quiet because there's a funeral going on while I'm trying to do an eye exam. Kind of cool. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a little strange to have to work your schedule around life schedule, I guess that would be. So,
yeah. So interesting enough, there are now 7 nonprofit eye clinics in the state. I started 3 out of the 7 programs. In fact, I'm still helping 2 other programs currently because I'm part-time working. Yeah. hmm
wow, that's kind of a neat claim to fame then.
Yeah. So actually, claim to fame is I'm actually the first female Native Hawaiian optometrist for the state. Yes.
There
That's
you
my claim
go.
to fame right now. Yeah. It's just that I'm too damn old and nobody beat me to it. So that's pretty much how it goes.
And when it comes to first, I'd never realized. Let me ask you this. Did you go to explorations?
I did not.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, my parents, I grew up rather on the poorer side, and I really was not exposed to a lot of different things. In high school, never did any sports, extracurricular activities, nothing after school because I had a job. So I caught the bus to the terminal, worked at McDonald's, 4th Street Mall, downtown for 3.5 years. Yeah, catch the bus, work all evening, catch the bus home at 9 o'clock at night, go home, try to study a little bit, get up the next day, repeat. So I grew
Wow.
up since I knew you were asking some people, I grew up right a block away from Natsunoya Tea House, which is about 4 blocks away from Pune Gate. So when I was really late and couldn't catch the bus to the terminal, I'd have to hoof it up to school, walk.
And that's a heck of a hoof because
That's a heck of a hoof. Yes. So it
the
taught
way
me
that,
don't be late too many times because it's easier to walk down to the terminal and catch the bus up versus walk up to campus. Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. Do you have
Uh-huh.
siblings?
I do. In fact, my sister was a freshman when we were seniors. So guess who got to brag about winning song contest every chance she got?
Oh,
So my
wow.
sister is a dentist. I am the oldest of five. So I have a sister who's a dental assistant to my sister, the dentist below her. I have a brother who also went to Kamehameha. He is an 81 grad. He's a police officer, just retired in Seattle. Another sister that's in Boston because she married someone from the East Coast, and a baby brother who's here. So 6 siblings. Yes, too
Wow.
many.
But we had a few along the way that had larger families. I think Mike said he has seven. Mike
Right.
Crab. Yeah, I'm gonna be loading him as soon as you and I are done. So,
Gotcha, gotcha.
and then
Hmm.
I'm gonna start mentioning, so word starts to get around is I've discovered that we have a few, even a couple of the ones that I've showcased already who are not Facebook users.
Right,
So they haven't even been able to watch their own. So
right.
I slowly am starting to put them on a YouTube access channel.
I know, Kermit, that is so much work for you. So we appreciate it on our end. Wow,
No,
wow. That
I'm
is
just
so
not I'm
fantastic.
just not promising speed on that second half. So,
I know, but quite a commitment. I mean, this alone takes a lot of your time. So I hope you're enjoying it along the way, because I certainly
oh,
am from my side.
the things I'm learning about classmates I thought I knew well
Huh?
and didn't know very well in high school at all.
Hmm.
Collectively, I mean, my mind is getting blown.
Yeah,
Three,
because you
four,
and I
five
never
times a week.
interacted in high school. I don't recall any interaction at all because I was,
Yeah.
I pretty much hid in the chemistry lab. In fact, I'll share an interesting story. In high school, you know how we went to career counselors, when
Mhm.
we were deciding what our career was going to be? Well, my career counselor was a real pain as far as a career counselor. So I went in and I said, I want to be an optometrist. And basically, what he told me, in not so many words, was listen, optometry school is really hard to get into. You have to go to the mainland. It's expensive. There's only 13 schools. Your grades are good, not great. And my grades were good only because I had to work. They weren't fabulous because you don't have time to do homework, et cetera, et cetera. So he says, your grades are good. You're not great. And have you thought about another career like nursing? And I went, excuse me? So I left the office pretty much in tears, Kermit. Oh my God. I was really crushed. So I go back, and this is how we can tell you how much teachers impact students. I went back to the chemistry room. Mrs. Aratani, I don't know if anyone took chemistry, but Mrs. Aratani was Catherine Aratani. She was my savior. Oh my God. Went in there pretty much in tears. She said, listen, don't let someone else dictate your career. If this is what you want to do your own research, do your own investigation, pick the schools you think is going to fit you the best, and go for it. So every year I would come home during the summer. I'd always drive up to campus and tell her, this is what I'm doing this year. This is my grades for now. I'm going to be applying to school. What do you think? And she was so encouraging. I don't think if it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd keep pushing and pushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Because someone just burst your bubble.
as you mentioned that, I'm trying to think. I took chemistry one year, and I
Uh-huh.
want to say it was Mr. Cushing.
Yeah, Cushing was physics. We had Cushing for physics. So at least I had him for physics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I don't remember who I had for chemistry, but
Yeah. So Mrs. Aratani was just so fantastic. I mean, to this day, I'm so grateful that she gave so good advice and told me to keep working at it, and it was great. Yeah, and I also had Mrs. Yamamoto as my math teacher, and she was fantastic
I
too.
think I did it too. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think I did too.
Hmm.
That rings a bell.
Yes. So I'll pick up my timeline. After I started the Kaliupalama Optometry Clinic, I spent almost 13 years there. But in the meantime, I'm sure you guys have heard of a company called Lens Crafters. Lens Crafters. Okay, they're the eyewear eye care number one in the world. They're part of the Luxottica Corporation. They were just entering our market here. So I applied for the job to hold the contract. And lucky enough, I actually got the contract. So I spent the next 25 years running all the doctor's offices in Lens Crafters here. And there were six offices. So four on Oahu, the Maui store, and then they also own the Sears optical division. So I also ran the Sears optical in Kauai. So my job was to provide every service other than glasses. So eye exams, contact lenses, diabetic checks, glaucoma managements, foreign body removals, pink eye treatments, everything other than glasses, my company provided for them. So I was a corporate doctor for 25 years.
So let me ask you this then.
Hmm.
In my last 50 years,
Uh-huh.
my weeks were 7 days long. My
Uh-huh.
days were 24 hours long. Were yours any longer or different? Because
It was similar because it was similar.
that just
You know,
sounds
but
like
when
a
you're
mega load of work.
Yeah, so when you're poor and you don't want ever to be poor again, you do whatever it takes to kind of make the money you need to kind of survive and try to achieve the lifestyle you'd like to have. Yes, it was
Wow.
long, it was hard. LensCrafters was a 7 day a week office, but I did have, 15 associates. I carried a staff of 60. So we did organize ourselves so that we didn't necessarily have to work 7 days a week, but because I was the contract holder, I did have to make sure everything kind of ran smoothly, so to speak. Yeah. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
25 years or
25
longer.
years. Yeah. So I've actually
Uh,
been in practice 43 years now. 43? Yeah, 43 years. And I am going to surrender my license the end of this year. I figure time to next generation to step up and, take my place. But 25 years ended in 2014. And whenever you work with a corporate entity, there are benchmarks that you have to hit. And after a while, the benchmarks get so high, it's almost unachievable. So when it became that point, I decided I needed to step back because no matter how much I was working, we weren't achieving their goals for them. And one of the top 10 lens crafters in the nation is sitting here at Ala Moana, which was my store.
wow.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
since 2014, have you just kept yourself to a private practice or?
So I started a small private practice, but I also opened up two more low-income clinics. I'm not sure if people have heard of the Waikiki Health Center. So they had a program, but no optometry program. So they asked me to help start a program within their clinic. So I started that program. At the same time, also started this clinic inside of Kukuakalihi Valley, which is a clinic right outside Kuhio Park Terrace. So on School Street, remember Kuhio, the towers at Kuhio Park, the twin towers that look like the Ilikai, except they're in Kalihi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a clinic right outside KPT called Kukua Kalihi Valley, which is also a nonprofit. So to this day, I do help them 1 day a week with management. I see patients still, and I've been doing that for almost 9 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I do have children. I'll go I'll touch bases on that. So, I actually have a blended family now. But I do have a son and daughter from my first husband. So my daughter, who's the oldest, she is 34. She is an electrical engineer for Hawaiian Electric.
Wow.
She's
Okay.
actually a project manager for all the substations. So any substation changes on Oahu, it's hers. She has to oversee all the substations here on the island. She married another electrical engineer, no children, because I told my children that kids are expensive. Bank mom would prefer not to pay. So if you can't afford children, please don't have them. So no grandchildren. Unlike I notice a bunch of you guys have a bunch of grandchildren. Wow. My baby is an attorney general. He's at the attorney general's. He's a lawyer. He just left the prosecutor's office. So he spent time being a prosecutor and now he's at the attorney general's mainly because he wants to be a judge. So he's working his way to getting enough trial experience so that he can make the short list so that the governor can select him hopefully one day and he can achieve what he wants to do, which actually is to be a judge. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Not having any experience or knowledge of that field
Yes.
in general. So the governor has to kind of like pick you.
So it depends. So the lower court is picked by let's see. It's one of the associates, one of the associate judges. The higher courts is picked by the governor. So number one, you have to make the short list, and then the short list is sent to the governor or the associate judge, and they get to choose who they select as the judge. Yes. So to
So
make the short
you,
list is always an honor, but to get to be appointed as a judge, oh gosh, it's fabulous. And because judges' salaries have gone up over the years, it used to be really a poorly paid position. It's actually a lot difficult, these days to become a judge because the pay is so much better. Hmm.
wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, my stepson is a computer gamer. He's trying to break into the gaming world and hit it big and make a lot of money. And
As a
that's
player, not as a creator.
Oh no, he's creating and playing at the same
Okay.
time. Yep. So we have a blended family, two for me and one for my second husband. So in the meantime, yes, I did get divorced from my first husband. And actually, funny story, I met my second husband through a patient. I'm not sure how many of you go to your doctors and, they're very personable. You share your life with them a little bit. They share theirs just a little bit, just to play catch up before the exam starts. And I just happened to be talking to a patient one day and she says, I have to set you up with this person. I'm thinking, no, 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 no. But they insist and insist. And you finally go, okay, lunch is fine. If you hate them, lunch is over. No harm, no foul. It just worked out really well. Yeah. So my husband is an attorney. Um, he actually belongs to what they call the American Bar Association, which is a national group. He is the first Asian American officer for this national organization called the American Bar Association. Yeah.
Oh,
So he's the secretary this year, and there has never been an Asian American officer in this 146-year history of this group ever. So
that's
that's kind of a
surprising.
nice. Yeah, yeah, I know. Asians, yeah. I'm thinking we have so many Asian attorneys and no officers of this group ever. Hmm. So, I've been traveling a lot with him because he has to travel quite a bit. So it's been kind of fun. In fact, I was just telling you I was just going to come back on island because we were just in New York for a meeting. We went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire for a meeting, and we ended up in DC for the last meeting before we headed home a few days ago. Yeah. Hmm.
Have you done any recreational traveling outside the US?
Yes, actually, I have. In fact, this past November, um, my husband had a meeting in London, but because my daughter was going to Paris, we took the Eurostar, the channel that goes under the water. We took it to Paris, and we had a very interesting time in Paris Disney. I don't know if a lot of you realize there is Disneyland in Paris, but it was 32 degrees, it was snowing, wet, cold, and every other ride you'd go on and they'd stop at mid-ride, and there was a problem. Lights would go on, they say, so sorry, we have a technical glitch, it's probably due to weather. Come back. I'm thinking, wait, I just stood in line for 45 minutes in the freezing cold to get on the ride for 30 seconds and you stop the ride, but we can come back later and redo the ride. I'm thinking, oh gosh, that was not fun. But yeah, we did go to Paris and London this past November.
Your daughter going was it recreational for her?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
she's a Disney girl. Every single Disney she's gone to. So I told her Dubai is opening. I don't know if you've read recently, but they're going to open one in Dubai. And so she's like making plans already to go to Dubai and go to Disney.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Are
Mm.
they that different?
No, they're not. They're
Okay.
very similar. It's interesting because I went to the one in Japan, and the only difference is all the characters just speak Japanese. And you kind of go, whoa, that's just very shocking because you're used to everything in English, but everything's in Japanese. It's so cool. Yeah.
It's funny, decades ago when I was still in Hawaii doing the driver's ed thing, I ran into a woman. We started just chatting about things, and she was born and raised in France.
Wow.
And she said she had been living in Hawaii for about, I don't know, 10, 12 years or something like that. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. She goes, but surprisingly, she discovered that just lately at that time, she had been calling home, talking to her mom, and and she had forgotten some of her vocabulary.
Oh, wow.
And then she says, and it was really spooky for me when I started dreaming in English.
Oh, no.
And silly me, I'm going, I thought the
Uh-huh.
whole world dreamed in English. You talk
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
Japanese Disney.
Yeah, I know.
I
That was
mean,
so cool.
oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
I guess if you're Chinese, you would dream in Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
Never stop
Exactly.
to put that together.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Mhm. But basically, right now I'm semi-retired, so I only work 2 days a week, like I was telling you. But I just gotten into landscaping. I so love landscaping, which is so great that we live in Hawaii because, the weather's pretty, I guess for this 2 weeks, it's been raining like crazy. But it's so nice to be able to go outside, stay outside, do all the wonderful stuff that we have because of our weather. Because you were telling me you're in Minnesota. I went, oh, cold. Mm-hmm.
We have our moments, but today we're supposed
Yes.
to get up to 85. So,
Wow. Wow. That's right. There's a
and
heat wave, yeah, going across the US.
and when we woke up, it was probably low 50s. So
Yeah. Yeah.
a big jump. That range is it took me decades to get used to, but
Yeah. So interestingly enough, outside, I started this walking group in our neighborhood. So at 5:45 every morning, whoever's available meets in front of my house. I live up Makiki Heights Tantless side, and we walk for about an hour, a little over an hour every morning, 7 days a week. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years now. So it's kind of fun. I've kind of have a little neighborhood thing going. All the people that I see walking, I said, "Hey, come join us." So it's kind of fun. We organize ourselves, and you show up, you walk. You don't show up, no problem, no harm, no foul. It's kind of
now
cool.
how do you allow for people who aren't ready to walk as far as you walk after
Oh,
10
they can
years?
cut out at any time.
Okay.
So, yeah, but most of them have been walkers for a while now, and they're pretty much in our age group. Some are a little, in fact, no, I'm the youngest. Most of them are older. So they pretty much, we do a different circuits up and down Tantalus. And it's kind of cool because it is, uphill and it's really good exercise. And, I'm always one for touting exercise. So I tell them, listen, just come join our group. And we push them a little further so that they actually can do the walk, which is great.
Now, is it ever scary? Because that Catalyst Road's not real wide. So
Yes.
walkers and traffic
Yes. What
probably
at
doesn't
5:30,
mix
five
real
forty-five in
well.
the morning, there's not a whole lot of traffic. In fact, if we see more than 5 cars, oh my God, it's a busy day. What's going on? Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much it's early enough where it's pretty safe. Yeah.
But I would hope you guys still have the reflective this and that.
Yes, we do. So we carry
Okay.
flashlights. In fact, I have a stick that's about 6, 7 feet long to keep away the four-legged people I don't want anywhere near me, nor the two-legged people I don't want anywhere near me. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it always pays to stay safe. Of course, of course. Yeah.
So other than landscaping, how do you fill your time 5 days out of the week?
Okay. So basically, I started a new art project. Have you ever heard of encaustics? Encaustics, Encaustics. It's a form of artwork that is about 4,000 years old, where you combine pigment, resin, and wax, and you heat it to about 200 degrees, so it's liquid. And then you paint on a hard substrate. So you don't paint on canvas, you paint on board. And because it's wax, you can layer it quite a lot and you seal it with either a heat gun or a torch. So I think I'm a pyro. I'm a closet pyromaniac. So you torch it and you can make art with this. And there's this resurgence now for this type of art. So, a lot of people do oils and acrylics and, watercolor, but not a lot of people do encaustics. So I had gone on a trip to Chicago and I'd seen this beautiful encaustic painting. And I went, oh my God, I want this. I'm going to buy it. I don't care what it costs. It can't be that expensive. It's only wax. Then they told me wholesale is 10,000. I went, $10,000. No, I'm going to learn how to do this. So I decided, let me just sort of look at YouTube. I bought some books. I mean, right now I'm only making mud, but it's kind of fun to work with a heat gun and a torch, a butane torch, and try to work with that to try to play around with art. I never had time before, so it's kind of cool because my children are all grown. I'm an empty nester, and it's just fun to play around with stuff. Yeah.
That particular art form, now you have me curious.
Uh-huh.
Does it have geographically a place of origin or
I think it started in Greece, but it's all over the US now. There's been this big resurgence. So there's groups that have, classes if you want to. You can go for training. There's a lot of, like I said, YouTube videos, a lot of books on it. There's different techniques how to melt it. You can do mixed media with it, which means add other things to it. You can embed things in there. because it's just a hot wax. So while it's in a liquid form, you can add all kinds of things. You can do print transfers, like you copy something on the printer. So like right now, I'm trying to copy Hawaiian music, and I'm not sure about copyright laws or anything. And I'm trying to embed it into my wax. So I'm kind of trying to carry a Hawaiian theme into the artwork
Okay.
just to kind of see how it goes. But it's something that I know not too many people do, and I'd like to give it a shot just to do something different. Hmm.
Yeah, because surprisingly, I mean, I've never heard of it, but I mean, it's not
Hmm.
like I'm well versed in the art world, but you
I'm not
know,
either. I'm not
so
either.
so until you saw that one painting,
Right. I
you
had
were
no idea this
probably,
existed.
yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea this form of art even existed. But I kind of discovered it a few years ago, and I decided, you buy some supplies on eBay and you buy a few supplies from, these. I mean, you don't want to spend obviously a lot of money, but I tell people there's no such thing as a starving artist because art supplies are expensive.
Or
Yeah, so
maybe that's why they're starving because they don't
that's why they're starting.
turn it over.
Yeah, exactly,
Money
exactly.
out, no money in. So,
Yes, exactly, exactly.
hmm.
Hmm. But it's amazing, and I'm sure, you realize too, as if you do part-time, how much stuff there is to have to do, even though you're only working part-time. And you don't know how you got it done when you worked full-time, but your day just flies by. Wow. Hmm.
Yeah, I think back to things that happened almost a full year ago, and I think,
Right,
whoa, that was
right,
already almost a year ago,
right.
and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but as I get older, it seems like it goes a little bit faster.
Yes. And before we sign off, I just want to give one more plug if it's okay. I'm actually chair of the Pauahi Foundation Scholarship. And I know Keha talked to you a little bit about it, but we're super really close. So our class, as you were told, we're supposed to raise 50,000 so that our classmate who's giving it another 50 anonymously, we can give 100. So I've gotten it to the point where I think we're at 7,700 remaining of the 50,000. So yeah, thank you so much for allowing us to put the QR code and everything on the Facebook page. And we're trying to make that one last push, but we'll hopefully make it up at the reunion and we'll get the last push. And we're just trying to say, hey, at least give $50 to help a student. And I know how important it is because I got scholarship when I was going to school. As a poor child, you take out loans, scholarships, whatever you can, work study just to make it through school, which is why I had to go as quickly as possible because I had no money to stay in school. Okay, so my parents said 3 years or nothing, find your own money. And I went, oh gosh, so my parents basically helped as much as they could, but with 6 kids and one parent working, there's not much money to go around, especially since my father just worked at Pearl Harbor and, my mom didn't work at all with 6 kids, stay-at-home mom. It was tough. It was tough. And
I
then my
can,
sister behind me came along and she went to dental school, and that was even tougher. Yeah. So I truly believe in this, in, the give back and the scholarship program because it helped me, get to where I am going. And, a lot of times I heard the highest reason for dropouts for Native Hawaiians is the financial part. And the nice thing is our class, I don't know if people know, we give out 4 scholarships, two to university attended students and two to community college students. So if they want to study Native Hawaiian, we can fund that. They want to study any type of STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, math stuff, we fund that. And a lot of times because there's so many scholarships, they can get up to, 3, 4, 5 scholarships at a time to pretty much fund their entire tuition, which is sort of kind of really cool to kind of educate the next generation up. Yeah. Yeah. So I
so
just want to give
we're shooting for 7,700 or more.
7,700 and then we'll get 100,000 total to contribute. Hmm.
Okay. Are we concerned about any kind of time deadline?
Well, the
Like,
deadline is June 30th because we're on a fiscal year. So I started this drive with my committee. So my committee it's made out of Kathy Lau Best. I don't know if you know Kathy, Miriam Louie, Melanie Yin. In fact, just to share one thing, Melanie Yin, I'm not sure if you remember who she is. Short little Melanie. She was in our class. So Melanie has been my very best friend from ninth grade till now.
is that Melanie as in Pecksock? No?
Yes, Pexock, Melanie
Okay.
Pexock. Yes.
Okay.
So Melanie's been married a few times too. So she's now Pexock, yes. But I still call her Melanie Yin because that's the only way I'm going to remember her from school. But Melanie and I have stayed in touch every time I came home, when I moved home, marriages, divorce, Melanie has always been with me. In fact, we get together at least once every month to every other month to at least do lunch and play catch up. And yeah, she's been my BFF since high school. Yep.
One curious benefit of these little Zoom sessions that I discovered kind of after the fact it organically appeared is that people who may have been connected in high school but lost touch along the way, some of these sessions have reignited that connection and they're
Yes.
back in touch
Yes.
again
Yes. And thanks to
because
you.
because they
I'm so
suddenly know where it
impressed.
is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm so impressed. You put this idea together and wow, it is running. Fantastic. Wow. Very impressive on
yeah.
your part.
So it's just fun. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. I enjoy talking and I know how to talk and can't stop me from talking. So it it gets
Uh-huh.
exciting that way.
Yeah.
Um, Something else I was gonna ask. Oh, so that's probably why I invited Miriam to do one of these, but she said you guys
Yes.
have already been featured
Yes.
through another venue or something. So
Yes, yes, they actually made a video. So if they go on to the Hawaii Foundation website, there's a huge video. So Mike Maderos participated, Kehao participated. Do you remember Christine He, now Lee? So Christine came, Miriam Louie came,
okay.
and they're all prominently featured in this Hawaii Foundation and why it's important to do give back video. It's online and it's fantastic. And it should be coming out in the next newsletter because I gave it to Kehao, the link, so everyone can at least watch.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
available to watch now then.
Yes, now. Yes. Yes, it's available to watch now.
Okay.
Yeah. So they
Well,
had some
if you
talking points on how important it is and why they do give. And, there's a lot of classmates. So we have about 87 classmates that have contributed so far, which is the most ever. Prior to this last year, we had the lowest participation of any class in the entire school. I found that out and I went, you guys got to be kidding me. And they weren't kidding. We had so low participation. It was really shameful.
wow,
But through everyone kind of reaching out and reconnecting, and it's really taken off. So yeah. And plus, thanks from you and too on the Facebook and everyone connecting. It's so cool to sort of at least reconnect. hmm
that's
And you're
great.
right. All the people that we didn't know each other, we're gonna get to know each other now.
And everyone's got a story. Sometimes I've been
Yes.
making my pitch initially, and people will go, "Oh, my life's so boring." I said, You'd be surprised.
Well, it's
You'd
it's
be
sort of scary
surprised."
sometimes because you just don't know what you want to share, what you don't want to share, what you're going to be asked, and so thank you for allowing the format to roll out so that we're not so intimidated as to what we're going to, have to talk about or not talk about.
Yeah, and I keep the parameters so loose that if we take off. We'll come back
Yes.
eventually,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it'll start to flow again.
Yes. And there's so many interest. I'm just so impressed that, our class is so diverse. Everyone has something cool to say, which is so
That's what I
nice.
try to tell them. So
hmm
those of you who are listening carefully, Miriam, Miriam,
Yeah. Right,
good.
right.
Well,
Uh-huh.
thanks so much.
Absolutely. And looking forward to seeing you at reunion. Wow, how exciting.
That'll be
Yep,
great.
appreciate
You
it.
are
Thanks.
definitely doing class night,
I am.
doing the
Yes,
luau.
yes, I am. In fact, I will be also at the Mai Tai bar that Kehau is getting everyone together. I think it's on a Wednesday night.
I think
We're meeting
so.
at the Mai Tai bar at Ala Moana Shopping Center up on the fourth floor. hmm
Okay.
So I think we're gonna have like a mini class night to whoever is staying around. Whoever wants to come, comes. If they don't, don't. It's all good.
Yeah, because I
Yes.
land midday Wednesday, so I was kind of thinking about trying to get to
Yeah.
that, get
Wednesday night.
settled on campus and this
Yeah.
and that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that should be good. I'm excited. Looking
Yes.
forward to it.
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
And
thanks
once
everyone.
again, before we
Yep.
hang up,
Yep.
the scholarship fund,
Yes.
7,700 bucks. We can do
Yes.
it. We
We
can
can do
make
it.
it. Should be easy.
We can do it. All right.
See you,
Take care.
Lynn. Ahuiho.
Good seeing you. Bye.